We all have goals in our mind, which we would really love to achieve. No matter if we want to improve our relationships, start getting healthy, save money, or learn something new. But unfortunately, there always seems to be something in our way of achieving exactly that. Either our surrounding, the people around us, companies, advertisements, and yourself with your daily habits. And I'm sure you're also too familiar with it, because change is really hard. And there are also a lot of self-improving tutorials, videos, and books around. And a lot of pieces of advice they give you, they work pretty well. But some do not work at all, and some work really well, which I want to share with you in this video. So I prepared for you 5 skills which I want to give you in order to achieve your goals. It's going to be easy, fast, and really intuitive. So join me in this video and take a seat. So before we start, I want to give you a little bit of a context why I'm even making this video. Because recently I set the goal to run a triathlon next year, which seemed reasonable because I would only have to learn how to swim about 1.5 kilometers or 0.9 miles within 1 year. And I'm also quite experienced with running and cycling, which would be a fun challenge to try. But then a friend called. Hi. And he told me that he had a starting place for this year's triathlon, which we gave away. And of course, I said, yes, I can do that. And that's when I signed up for this year's triathlon, and I had to learn how to swim within 14 days. But more on that later in the video. And with that, the hardest part of the process was already done for me. That's the beginning. But you don't always have a friend calling, so who are you gonna call? Jan at work. I think let's start with the first pillar. And we need to find the right path to aim for. And this actually sounds super easy, because we probably already know our goals. And that's exactly where we make our first mistake, because we need to define the goals in the right way. Let's start with an example. If you want to lose 5 pounds, you shouldn't aim for something big and specific, like losing 5 pounds. Or for example, running a marathon or reading 10 books a month, because they tend to be hard to achieve and thus can be really frustrating if you don't achieve them in the set time. Instead, aim for a change. And what does that mean? Instead of running a marathon, you want to become a runner, or a reader, or a healthy person. And with that, you also get a sense of purpose alongside that will help you find the right path to aim for, with less risk of the yo-yo effect. If we set the right goals, they will be so much easier to achieve. Another fun thing you can try is that you're going to die now. And imagine what others think of you today. And then afterwards, imagine what they should think of you. That got dark quickly, I'm sorry. A bonus thing that works quite well for me is to regularly confront yourself with the consequences of not getting started. For example, you want to eat healthy and you start to watch videos about a bad diet and the consequences of a bad diet. And as a consequence, the algorithm will happily remind you again and again that it's bad if you don't get started at all, further nudging you to start today, which works well with me in this context. That's actually a pretty big topic, but if you're interested, you can check out this book, which really helps you find your dream to aim for. Enough of the talk now. I really have to learn how to swim within the next 14 days, and there's no better way to do that with a professional trainer. But I don't have one. I have to learn how to swim with YouTube tutorials. Let's try if it's really that simple as it seems. So I had just finished my first swimming workout, and I have to say, it was kind of terrible. Taking breath underwater with the freestyle swimming style is just insanely difficult in my opinion. Let's see how it will go. And I'm trying to do 1 more or 2 more swimming workouts until the competition, which is in less than 2 weeks. I'm really afraid that I'm gonna drown during the competition. Alright, let's continue with probably the most important pillar of those 5. And that's our surrounding. More precisely, we need to control our surrounding. Alright, once we start working towards a goal, we're really motivated. But that will not last, and that won't last long. And that's why we have to adapt our habits in a way that they become a no-brainer. So they become second nature. And that's what we're going to dive in with these 3 steps. Step 1, we need to analyze our daily routine and identify what's beneficial and what's distracting us from our goals. And this could look something like that. And just think of the time when you want to include the new activity and maybe even exclude certain parts. Alright, we now found the gap to include our new activity. So it's time for step 2. And this is really powerful. And that's called habit stacking. We need to change our daily routine in a way that one habit automatically leads to another. I'll explain that with a few examples. If we want to, for example, start working out or avoid the junk food that lies around your home, that takes a lot of mental energy to do. But for example, dressing up for sports or just looking for a recipe for dinner is actually a simple task. So we have to integrate those easy and simple steps in our daily routine. If we want to work out, you have to get dressed at first, which is the easy part. And you could include that in your daily routine in a way when you come home from work, you just force yourself to change your outfit, which is easy because you previously put the clothes in an obvious place. And then it will be obvious for you to start working out. And again, the beginning is the hardest part. Once you're into the activity, it becomes easier. Another thing I really like to do in the morning, after I prepared breakfast and before I take the first bite, I have to write down the current date into my diary. And just writing the current date is super easy because I don't have to think about it. Afterwards, I just have it lying in front of me with the current date, and naturally I will have to write something in there. But it's easy because I'm already doing it. So this way I eliminated the friction to start the activity I want to do. Step 3, isolate yourself. Okay, that's a terrible advice. I just want to point out the effect that other people have around you. If your goals don't align with the community, things will be so much more difficult for you. If your friends are all doing a lot of sports, then you will naturally do a lot of sports as well, because you want to fit into the group. So contrarily, sticking out is to be avoided, and you can use that to your advantage. You just have to find, for example, a local community, or maybe start joining a gym where people with similar interests and goals are around you. And this way, achieving will be so much easier. Number 3. Take a risk. So people who achieve anything are supposedly everywhere. But that's only the picture painted by social media. Failing, however, is rarely to be seen. And that's really bad for our goals, because we all fail at some point. That's totally natural. After the first few setbacks, we tend to give up on our goals. Because it's hard, we feel embarrassed, we get anxious or depressed. And I really hate to say it, but I think we have to adapt a new mindset. But not like that. Instead, we have to take risks and fuck up. So I want to encourage you to, for example, sign up at the marathon, buy a cookbook, or meet old friends again. And you'll see where it leads you. And if you fail, that's okay. Just remember, we all had to do baby steps and fell far too many times. But eventually we learned to walk. And that's life. And that's beautiful in my opinion. That's not beautiful. Alright, number 4. Have fun, but do not overdo it. And I mean that in 3 different ways. Number 1 is the amount of time you want to invest in your new activity. Because if you're already on a tight budget, then it can be really easy to burn out. So depending on your activity, just take a few minutes of your day. Persistency is key, and small steps will pay off fast. Alright, second big mistake. And to be honest, that happened to me multiple times before. Because we often start with a new activity and lose ourselves in giant rabbit holes. Because, as I said before, those algorithms of the social media platforms will always try to recommend us stuff of our current interests and goals. Which is, on the one hand, can be really beneficial of achieving exactly our goals. But most of the time, it's actually distracting us from our goals. Because we watch yet another most important thing of this and that topic, which keeps us away of actually doing the things and learning the stuff. So be aware of your screen time and take action if needed. Alright, the social media rabbit holes lead us directly to the third point I want to make. And that's the gear. Oh boy, the gear. There's a really fine line where helpful ends and ridiculous starts. And while it's nice to have a good quality gear, that does not actually mean that you will be more motivated down the line. And I personally get really great joy while trying to make things work with the limited resources I have, for example, at home. Neither do you have to buy fancy fitness gadgets. And I've talked to multiple people who lost their motivation while, for example, exercising because they spent too much of their attention on stupid heart rate sounds without actually listening to their bodies. Try not to get overwhelmed and don't throw out your money because it won't be worth it. To summarize, having fun is the key to success. You can forget strict recipes, complicated heart rate sounds, or expensive equipment. Just find ways to get natural feedback. That's the way you learn and not with complicated guidelines. So keep your activities simple and fun, and that's how they will stick for a long time. Hey, I just finished my second swimming workout before the triathlon, and it's going to be my last one. And I have to say, so exhausting, and I even got a cramp in my lower leg, so I had to stop at 1.4 kilometers, and I just hope I'll manage the entire swim during the triathlon, because it's going to be really exhausting. Okay, done for today. Let's hope for the best on Sunday.
Was waren die ersten Gefühle?
Ja, ich bin nervös. Mir ist kalt. Aber es wird schon werden. I'm so excited.
alles gut.
Ja, danke. Gut,
So, liebes Publikum, jetzt eskalieren wir hier noch einmal für unsere Athletinnen und Athleten auf 3. 1, 2, 3, Vollgas! 3, 2, 1, go! Was für wunderschöne
So, da Schatzi. Wie fühlst du dich jetzt?
Ja, gut. Endlich. Die ist schon weg. That was an experience. At first I was really nervous. Then swimming was, to be honest, total bullshit. As expected with 2 swim trainings before. I even got a cramp at the end, which was also really bad. But I managed to do it. Cycling and running was actually fine. That was really fun because I'm really focused at the sports, but I just struggled too much with the swimming activity. But there's definitely room to improve, and I'm really happy that I did this challenge. And to be honest, I mean, it was really difficult, but it was doable. So if you want to try something like that, I can highly encourage you to do so. And even if you fail, it's not that bad. It's still a fun event. Alright, see you soon. Oh, I forgot the 5th pill. And that's to make it satisfying. What do I mean by that? You want to celebrate your achievements. You can use, for example, an everyday calendar. You can post your achievements, your daily routines on social media, for example. You could use another way of tracking your activities. That's actually really important because on the one hand, you get an instant reward of doing, for example, a social media post and getting those likes and views. But on the other hand, you can look back at the past and see how much you improved over time, which is also really nice. And especially with all those health trackers, it's actually pretty motivating to seeing those achievements. Just be proud of yourself and always remind you that you're awesome.